What's up everyone, it's United Weather here, and in today's weather forecast video, we're going to be taking a look at a big cool down coming for the eastern part of the country, and later in the video, we are going to be taking a look at the tropics where you have a few storm threats brewing that could potentially move towards the United States over the next week or two, so make sure to watch all the way through the entire video so you don't miss out on any important information that I might be going over. Now first things first, we are going to be taking a look at this cold front that's going to be moving across the country. It already has moved across portions of the country, but it's definitely going to be moving across at least the eastern seaboard today and tomorrow, and we do have a day one slight risk in place. We also have a day two marginal risk. Now I'm not expecting anything too crazy with these storms. They're basically just going to be some gusty thunderstorms and showers, nothing too crazy. No tornadoes or anything like that are expected. But if you have any outdoor plans and you are in the marginal or the slight risk, you definitely want to stay weather aware that you could get some showers and thunderstorms at any point. Now taking a look at the temperature anomaly here on the GFS model, as you can see, most of the country as of right now is relatively above average, especially in the northwestern part of the country. You can see those kind of dark red colors there. That's probably not going to change with this air mass that's moving into the eastern part of the country. You guys are going to be pretty above average. So if you are in the northwest and looking for relief, unfortunately, it's probably not going to be coming anytime soon. However, the eastern part of the country, if we go ahead and move forward here, this would be Sunday. So as you can see, you have this kind of cool air mass building up here. And if we move forward here, you can see it does eventually swing into the northeast and basically the entire eastern part of the country. If we move forward here again, you can see we do get some warm temperatures for, the middle part of the week, Wednesday and Thursday for the northern part of the country. And then we get another shot of cold air here. And look how strong this one is. You can see it definitely just sits over the northern part of the country. This is next Saturday, so next weekend again. And it kind of just sits there, it doesn't really move around too much. So again, you can expect cooler temperatures this weekend, going into probably Monday, and then by Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it's going to heat up again for the northern part of the country, in the northeast, and then again next weekend, another shot of cold air. And once that cold air moves in, it should stay over your area for a pretty good amount of time, so definitely expect a good taste of fall if you are in the northern or eastern part of the country. Now, in terms of the actual weather and rain with these two cold air masses, this first air mass that's moving in this weekend, the severe weather with that is relatively out of the way. Again, we do have a slight risk today in the northeast, but again, nothing too crazy that you can expect, maybe some gusty showers and thunderstorms as I mentioned earlier in the video. So moving forward here, this is now Thursday, and once this second cold front starts to build up, then we could see another line of showers and thunderstorms, and this is all going to depend as well on the tropics. You can see in the Gulf of Mexico there, we do have a little system that's been kind of sitting there over the past few days that's going to continue to sit there and bring some heavy rain to portions of the Gulf Coast. And this kind of depends. If this system does kind of squeeze up the coast, we could see some heavier rain, maybe some humidity being transported from the Gulf of Mexico and fusing with this cold front here. So that could be a little bit of a problem, especially with flooding. And I'm going to say definitely areas in the northeast, you'd want to keep an eye on this. I know you've been getting a lot of flooding lately. You definitely want to keep an eye, because if this, I'm not going to call it a tropical cyclone just yet, but if this low pressure system in the Gulf of Mexico is able to kind of meet up with this cold front in the northeast, we could be looking at some problems with flooding here. Now, of course, this is still a week out, so we're definitely not going to make any definite statements as of yet, but something to definitely keep an eye on, especially, pretty much anywhere along the East Coast, to look for flooding if this does happen. Now, in terms of severe weather, we can probably just expect same thing with this cold front, some gusty showers and thunderstorms, maybe a squall line with this. Again, it's pretty far out, so nothing too set in stone yet. And then eventually, once this cold front sets in next weekend, then we're going to be turning our eyes to the tropics where we do have a storm threat brewing. And if we take a look at the latest outlook from the National Hurricane Center here, you can see the disturbance that we talked about in yesterday's video, the one we said we should be focusing on. It has been upgraded to a 50% chance of development. It was at a 40% chance of development yesterday. And keep in mind, this is through 7 days, but through 48 hours, the chance of development is 0. So it's not expected to develop anytime soon until it reaches, the Caribbean islands here as marked by the National Hurricane Center. And we also have another tropical wave that has just moved off Africa behind it. This one is a little bit further north, as I mentioned in yesterday's video. Right now, model guidance is showing that kind of curving out to sea, so we're not going to worry about that just yet. The main threat that we want to keep an eye on, again, is going to be this orange area here. We also have another area here with a 20% chance of development. This is the low pressure system I just showed you, and what I expect to eventually probably bring some flooding to somewhere on the East Coast here. It is bringing a lot of rain to the Gulf Coast right now. You guys are definitely not going to be getting a break from the rain and the moisture anytime soon. So going ahead and looking at the GFS ensembles here, you can see definitely a lot of storms are expected in the Atlantic Ocean over the next few days, and hurricane season is definitely expecting to ramp up. However, what we want to be paying attention to is going to be this storm down here in the Caribbean. And something interesting to note here with the latest ensemble guidance is the storm tracks down here in the northern Caribbean islands that are pretty strong. You can see those reddish colors, those purplish colors. That would be, a hurricane moving through the northern Caribbean islands. And all these stronger storm tracks, they kind of curve up to the north. Now, would this allow it to get closer to areas like New England? You can see some of the ensemble members do actually have it hitting New England and areas like Long Island. But again, this is really far out. It hasn't formed yet. But what we want to keep in mind is that if this storm does form quicker and develop rapidly, that could signal it going further north, maybe taking a turn north and avoiding areas like the Gulf of Mexico and Florida, which would be a good case scenario. Obviously, that means it can impact the Northeast, but obviously the potential for it to rapidly intensify is not going to be as high as if it goes into the Gulf of Mexico with those warm waters and low wind shear. And as you can see here, the kind of weaker members to the south do eventually slip into the Gulf of Mexico, and you can see them reaching those, red, pink colors. That would be a pretty strong hurricane anywhere on the Gulf Coast. So definitely want to keep an eye on this over the next few days. I think by midweek, we should have a better idea of if this is going to turn north or if it's going to head into the Gulf of Mexico. Of course, the storm has not really even formed yet. It's not supposed to form for the next day or two. So until it really does that, we can't really say for sure where it's going. But right now, it could go, anywhere from Bermuda to Mexico. So really don't take any of these model outputs literally when we show them to you. I know there's a lot of people trying to hype the storm up, saying, "Oh, Category 5 hurricane going to Texas." That's definitely, a pretty bold statement to make this far out. It could not even form. It could get sheared apart in the Caribbean islands. It could not even develop yet. But going ahead and looking at our second tropical wave coming off of Africa now, most of the model guidance here has it kind of curving out to sea, not really coming anywhere near the United States. And again, same thing as I said with this last storm here. It hasn't even developed yet, so the models aren't going to have that good of a handle on it just yet. But right now, I wouldn't really pay much attention to this storm out here closer to Africa. We really should be watching this one approaching the Caribbean islands, anywhere on the Gulf Coast, anywhere on the southeastern United States coast, maybe even the Northeast. You guys want to keep an eye on this as well. Definitely stay updated with the National Hurricane Center over the next week. Now, with that being said, that is pretty much going to be it for today's video. I will be trying to post maybe 3 or 4 videos this week updating you guys on the tropics, so definitely stay tuned for that. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe and peace out.